Hello everybody, welcome to the second session of current affairs coverage from June 2024 to April 2025. You already know we have discussed the first session and this is meant for the preliminary examination 2025, although a bit delayed, but now we'll continue more frequently all these things and continue till preliminary examination so that you can revise all the current affairs of last and this year. Let's start with the questions without wasting time. Now, as far as the first question is concerned, the first question relates to smart proteins. And it can be asked as a question in biotechnology. Developing smart proteins is one of the priorities of government's Bio E3 initiative, which will taste like and have the same texture. Which one of the following statement in the context of the above mentioned development is incorrect? So the question asked is that which statement is incorrect? And as far as the statement, the first statement is the move to develop smart protein is aimed at making food sources climate resilient. Second option is traditional food sources contribute significantly to carbon emissions. Third option is although smart proteins would not reduce land, water and energy requirement, it is expected to address widespread protein deficiency in the country. And the last option is smart proteins would be developed in the lab. Now, as far as smart proteins is concerned, we know that the traditional food sources that we have, they contribute significantly to global warming, climate change. Why? Because we consume meat, we consume milk, and meat and milk comes from where? It comes from the animals which are considered to be biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. Ruminants, if we consider, ruminants are contributing in greenhouse gases to the tune of 14.5%, which is slightly more than transportation according to FAO, the Food and Agricultural Organization. So we know that the traditional food sources, if we drink more of milk, if we consume more of meat, it means that global warming would be enhancing. Why? Because we are rearing these animals in large numbers to meet the demand of milk and meat. And that's why it would be enhancing. So the best option is what? To develop smart proteins. And this initiative has been taken. So traditional food sources contribute significantly to carbon emission is correct statement. The move to develop smart proteins is aimed at making food sources climate resilient. That is also correct statement. And obviously it would be developed in the lab. But although smart proteins would not reduce land, water and energy requirements, it is going to reduce land, water and energy requirement. It is expected towards the first part of this statement is incorrect. This second statement is correct. That is going to address the widespread protein deficiency in the country. That's correct. And as far as smart proteins is concerned, smart proteins would be made by three methods, three ways through which it would be made. The first way is what? Fermentation process. Fermentation derived proteins from microbes, algae, bacteria, fungus. So that's the first way. Second is now plant-based proteins can be used. Third method is what? Third method is that we would be using cell culture for making of this protein. For example, if we talk about a new development which took place a few years back, a Dutch company developed what is called as moza meat. Moza meat is what? It is developed in the lab by taking a thin line of cells from these animals of which the meat consumption is made, and then with the help of tissue culture, this meat is developed in the lab. So this development is meaningful and a question definitely can be asked on this development. And the incorrect option I have given to you. Let's see. And this initiative has been taken by the Department of Biotechnology under the Bio E3. We have discussed this question in the last session. And three methods I have mentioned: fermentation derived proteins, second is plant based proteins, which mimics the taste and texture of the original proteins, and third is protein developed through cell culture. Traditional food sources, they contribute to carbon emission, they contribute to resource overuse, food insecurity, climate change, and zoonotic diseases. And why we are talking about health concerns related to traditional food system? If we consume milk, if we consume meat, it is not going to support the environment. It's not sustainable in nature. Why? Because for developing these animals in large numbers, we are using antibiotics. So the milk and meat of these animals, they have antibiotic resistant genes, ARGs, which is definitely not good for our health. Let's see the second question. The second question is of biodiversity. I told you that when we discussed the sessions on biodiversity, I told you more questions would be coming up in current affairs. So let's see what has been mentioned in the newspapers, the journals of late, and all these questions have been included. Consider the following statement: Hullock gibbon is the only ape species in India. Second, this animal is known for its vocalization and spends much of its time on the upper canopy of trees. And third, Holangapur Gibbon Sanctuary is situated in the Golaghat district of Assam. How many of the above mentioned statements are correct? See, first statement is definitely correct, because out of the 20 ape species we have worldwide, Hullock gibbon is the only ape species which is found. In India, it's found in the northeast, definitely. This animal is known for its vocalization. Vocalization means the calls are mainly for grouping, and spends much of its time on the upper canopy of trees. It means that they are diurnal. Diurnal means they are active during daytime, not nocturnal. And they are arboreal. Arboreal means they live definitely on trees at a greater height, at the canopy of trees they are living. But the third statement is wrong, because this is not in the Golaghat district, it is in the Jorhat district of Assam. So we can see 1 and 2, only 2 would be the correct option. So that's about Hullock gibbon, and should be, maybe it can be asked as a question anytime in your examination, because it's the only ape species which is present in India. And why it is in the news? It is in the news because when you talk about this gibbon sanctuary, Holangapur Gibbon Sanctuary, which is situated in the Jorhat district, a railway track was laid through this sanctuary. And what the railway department is doing, they are trying to build the canopy bridges so that the habitat of Hullock gibbon does not get disturbed. That's why it is in the news. Let's see next question, the third question. Which one of the following statement related to mangrove forest is incorrect? The IUCN has listed mangroves in the coastal areas spanning Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, and Maldives as critically endangered. According to IUCN, only South India, Sri Lanka, and Maldives, and the northwestern Atlantic that has a warm temperature have the critically endangered tag. Shrimp farming in the coastal region has a detrimental impact on the mangroves. And mangroves not only reduce the intensity of tsunami waves, but also the impact of global warming by producing brown carbon. See, the first statement is correct. All these statements are correct, but D is incorrect. Now, as far as last year, for the first time, IUCN conducted assessment of the mangrove areas out of the 36 regions of the world. It was found that mangroves in the coastal region of Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, Maldives are certainly critically endangered. And why critically endangered? Because mangroves suffer from what? Degradation, deforestation, the rising sea level, cyclones, dams, Shrimp farming. For shrimp farming, we are responsible for constructing ponds, which is detrimental for the mangroves as such. So all these are the reason why mangroves suffer. And mangroves produces what? Mangrove produces blue carbon, not brown carbon as such. So this is incorrect. It reduces the impact of global warming, but it produces blue carbon. Blue carbon means that mangrove vegetation absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere. But since the soil is saline, it does not allow the carbon which is absorbed to get oxidized and reverted back into the atmosphere in the form of CO2. So it absorbs CO2 but does not allow CO2 to be reverted back into the carbon cycle. That's why. And that form of carbon is called as what? It's called as blue carbon. And this one thing which you should know, and remember that blue carbon already has been asked in your examination earlier. So a question like this can be framed. And this is a new development. Last year, it was conducted for the first time. So you should know about this. Let's see the next question. Which of the following statement is incorrect? DNA evidence. Now this is a question of history, but contemporary history as such. DNA evidence from a 4,600-year-old remains of a woman indicate that the Harappans were an indigenous people. Fire verse is mentioned in the Rig Vedic text. There is no mention of horses in the Rig Vedic text. There is frequent description of Saraswati river in the Rig Vedic text, and during excavation, a majority of Harappan settlements were discovered on the bank of Saraswati river. See, in what context this question has been asked? Because there is a perception of some of the historians that the Harappan period and the Rig Vedic period is the same. So they say that the Rig Vedic period is not from 2000 BC. It's before that. And Harappan period is the Vedic period, according to some. There are two group of scholars. One, some scholars from Hungary, and they say that, they say what? They say that as far as the remains of some of the bones of animals which have been discovered, I'm giving you the name also, which have been discovered from Sukortada region of Gujarat. Hungry researchers say that this is nothing but domesticated horse. Harvard researcher says that, and headed by Richard Meadow says that this animal is what? It is wild ass. It's not a horse as such. So if we adhere to the researchers from Hungary and adhere to their viewpoint that it is domesticated horse, and why? Because the bones of the animals have been discovered from a Harappan site, then we can say that definitely the Vedic period and the Harappan period. So the scholars, the historians who adhere to the perception that the Harappan and the Vedic period is the same, is adhering to the Hungary researchers' perception. On the other hand, those who say no, the period differs, they are adhering to the view of Harvard researchers headed by Richard Meadow, who says that the bones are of wild ass. So bones have been discovered. Remember the bones from which region it had been discovered, so that there is a conflict between two groups of historians. And as far as ritual platforms are concerned, ritual platforms can be seen in Rakhi Gadi in Haryana, and definitely fire worship was there in the Vedic period. Saraswati river has been mentioned 71 times in Rig Veda, and a number of Harappan sites have been seen, have been discovered along the banks of the Saraswati river. So the question is what? As far as the question is concerned, there is no mention of horses in the Rig Veda. This is untrue, incorrect. Why? Because there is mention of horses in the Rig Vedic text. Clear? So this statement C is incorrect. And everything is correct. So there are two things. One, the DNA evidence from bones of a woman discovered from Gujarat site, and second, the bones of an animal discovered from the Raki Kadi site in Haryana. These are two contentions that needs to be solved. And in that context, a question has been framed. Let's see the next question. Consider the following statement: washing plants can reduce ash and moisture content of coal. We are asking a question on coal. Coal gasification resulting synthetic gas is a mixture of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, moisture, and water vapor. Coking coal is needed for steel making, and Indian coal has high ash content. How many of the above mentioned statements are correct? See, as far as how many, all, and why this is in news. This was in the news because there was an allegation made by George Soros against the Adani Group of importing low-grade coal from Indonesia and selling it to the Tamil Nadu Power Generation Company, saying that this is of a very high quality. And in that context, the discussion was how we can judge the high-grade coal. Remember that when we talk about coal, coal consists of what? Coal consists of not only carbon, but also moisture. It also consists of ash. It also consists of impurities. Now, the high grade coal would be measured on the basis of its calorific value. If the calorific value is very high, it is certainly of a high grade. The quality of coal would be judged also on the basis of the ash content. It means if the ash content is high, it would be a low grade coal. Indian coal is always having a high ash content. That's why we emphasize, we put thrust on imported coal which has a low ash content. And as far as purification of coal is concerned, near the collieries where coal is extracted, washing plants are there which purify the coal, remove the moisture, remove the ash content. And then the coking coal is produced, and this coking coal is utilized by the steel industry, obviously. See, low grade coal can be utilized by the thermal plants for running the turbines. It can be utilized. But the thrust is what? The thrust is on the high grade coal as such. But as far as impurities are concerned, the impurities in coal, if suppose it is of a low grade, it would be responsible for enhancing air pollution. CO2 would be released into the atmosphere, then nitrogen dioxide would be released, sulfur dioxide would be released, particulate matter would be released if suppose the coal is impure. So in that context, the question has been asked and all the four statements are correct. So that's washing plant that we talked about. Coal gasification results in synthetic gas, which is a mixture of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, moisture, and water vapor. That's true. Coking coal is needed for steel making. I just now discussed. Indian coal has a high ash content, and that's why we are emphasizing on importing coal. Let's see the next question. Which one of the following birds lays eggs in the nest of other birds? This appears to be a very simple question. But that's a question of biodiversity, and these types of questions are asked in UPSC. So the correct option is what? The correct option is cuckoo. There are many other birds, not only cuckoo. There are many other crow birds are there, and cowbirds are not crow, but cowbirds are there. So these birds are responsible for laying, and the purpose is what? If you talk about the purpose, see, cowbird I have mentioned, indigo bird is there, honey guide is another bird, back-headed duck is another. So the process is called as what? The process when they lay eggs in the nest of other birds, the process is called as brood parasitism. Means that they are depending on the other birds to nurture their young ones. For example, quail. Quail is nothing but a type of cuckoo, but it lays its eggs where? In the nest of crow, I mentioned. So if suppose they ask you, be prepared for this type of question also. These are very simple questions, but often a person from our mind it slips. So that should be known to us. And these are questions on biodiversity. These types of questions on biodiversity would be asked to you in your examination. Let's see the next question. Consider the following statement. If for a period of 60 days a member of either house of the parliament is absent without the permission of the house from all meetings thereof, the house may declare his seat vacant. Can it be? Yes, definitely. The period of absence, however, do not account for any period during which the house is prorogued or is adjourned for more than 4 consecutive days. The period of absence. Now, this means what? The period of absence is only calculated based on the actual sitting of the parliament. See, all the 3 statements are correct. And where it has been mentioned? It has been mentioned in Article 101, 4, Clause 4. And why it is in the news? It is in the news. Why? Because a member of parliament from Punjab, Amritpal Singh, you know very well. Now, he moved into the Punjab High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, so that it's his membership, his seat does not fall vacant. Why? Because of his continued absence. So he's accused in a case, and under the National Security Act, he's under arrest, and that's why this article is in news. So certainly all 3 options are correct, nothing wrong in it. And a question from polity. Let's see another question from polity. Which one of the following statement, contemporary question from, which one of the following statement is incorrect? The Supreme Court has directed the states to consider the premature release of prisoner even if they themselves do not apply for remission beforehand. First is that the Supreme Court earlier had held that states cannot remit sentences suo motu and that the prisoner first make an application. The Bharatiya Nyaya Suraksha Sanhita 2023 and the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 grant state government the power to remit sentences anytime. And the power of President and Governor to remit sentences have been mentioned in Article 71 and Article 161 respectively. See, you can pause the video and answer by yourself. But the correct option is what? D. Because it's not Article 71, it is Article 72. Relates to the President's power to grant pardon, commute sentence, remit sentences. Remit sentences means what? That the period of sentence would be reduced. The time period of detention would be reduced. But as far as commutation is concerned, commutation means what? Commute a sentence means what? That a harsher punishment can be converted to a less harsher one. For example, suppose life imprisonment would be given to a person who is accused, the crime has been proved. If suppose the person has been sentenced to death, so death sentence can be changed into life imprisonment. And this has been mentioned in Article 72 for the President, 161 for the Governor. And the power to remit sentences of the state is different from the power of the President and the Governor. Clear? This has been mentioned in the Bharatiya Nyaya Suraksha Sanhita, and that is under the section 473 and also in 432 Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. But recently the Supreme Court has directed the state to consider the premature release of prisoners even if they themselves do not apply for remission beforehand. That's in the news, and that's why I have put the first statement like this. So it's a contemporary polity. Let's see another question from biodiversity. Which one of the following statement related to the Indian spiny-tailed lizard is incorrect? It is the country's only herbivore lizard. Remember this statement. This is correct. Once distributed across So here, across the northwestern India and Pakistan, it has disappeared from several areas, and in India is now confined to desert region of Rajasthan and Gujarat. IUCN classifies this species as critically endangered. The diminishing number of this lizard is due to poaching for its meat, habitat loss, and wildlife trafficking. Everything is correct except C, because it's not critically endangered, it's vulnerable. Roughly about 30%, 30 to 35% of the population of this lizard has reduced. And the reason is obviously this is called as what? Remember that if they ask you only herbivore lizard, it is nothing but the Indian spiny-tailed lizard, and this is the scientific name is called as Sara hardwicki. It is commonly also called as Sanda, Sandho. All these are the names. Its meat and oil is believed to have medicinal values. That's why poaching is done, and that's why it is always in the news. So contemporary question, remember those words. Only herbivore lizard. Let's see the next question. I have written that. See the next question. Consider the following statement. India's first biobank in a zoo has been established in Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park in Uttarakhand. The biobank, also known as frozen zoo, collects cells and tissue samples from endangered animals as well as reproductive cells from diseased animals. This bank works in collaboration with the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CCMB. How many of the above mentioned statements are correct? See, you can pause and answer by yourself. This is correct, but this is wrong. Because this Himalayan Zoological Park, Padmaja Naidu, is not in Uttarakhand. It is in West Bengal. In fact, it is nothing but the Darjeeling Zoo. So remember, if a question is asked in prelims, that the first biobank which is established in a zoo, it has been established in Darjeeling Zoo in West Bengal. And biobanks are known for, if suppose any species becomes extinct, so the DNA from that species can be taken to redevelop that species. This has been done in case of the northern white rhino also. So it became extinct. The male northern white rhino became extinct in 2018. So it was conducted on that also animal species. And as far as the initiative has been taken by the government, and not only in Darjeeling Zoo it would be established, but initiative has been taken to establish it in National Zoo, Delhi, and also another Nandan Kanan in Odisha. So the decision has been taken for that. It has not been established, but started to function last year in Darjeeling Zoo, West Bengal. And that's why it is a question of relevance. Next, in which one of the following states CSIR first launched the Purple Revolution? Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, West Bengal, Jammu and Kashmir. The answer is Jammu and Kashmir. See, there was an initiative in Jammu and Kashmir for medicinal and aromatic plants. And under this initiative, the rural economy would be boosted. Purple Revolution is for cultivation of lavender on a larger scale. So it first started from Jammu and Kashmir, but would be spreading to West Bengal, Uttarakhand, and Himachal. That's why I have mentioned others in the options also, so that it can be remembered through question itself. Let's see the next question. Which one of the following statement is incorrect with reference to Bharat Trade Net? It is a digital platform aimed at streamlining trade documentation and financing processes in India. It has been announced in the Union Budget 2025-2026. It is the world's largest rural broadband connectivity program which connects Gram Panchayat and villages for trade and commerce. The focus of Bharat Trade Net is the digital public infrastructure. What do you think? Another question from contemporary. See, the incorrect option is C. But there are two terms. It can be mingled sometimes. There's one term, Bharat TradeNet. Definitely, it's a digital platform aimed at streamlining trade documentation and financing processes in India. It's meant for whom? Meant for foreign companies who invest in India, particularly for the non-tariff barriers to be removed. This is there. So this initiative has been taken. It has been announced in the Union Budget 2025-26. That's true. This is true, but this is incorrect because it is world's largest rural broadband connectivity program. That's incorrect. And why it can be confused? Because there was a term called Bharat Net, not Bharat Trade Net. And Bharat Net was for connecting the Gram Panchayats and villages of India, rural broadband connectivity, world's largest through optical fiber. So know the difference between BharatNet and Bharat TradeNet. And this was done in 2011. And the focus of Bharat TradeNet is the digital public infrastructure. That's true. So C is the correct option, which is incorrect, definitely. Let's see the last question. Which one of the following statement related to BioRide scheme launched by government recently is incorrect? BioRide scheme means biotechnology research, innovation and entrepreneurship development. It targets to make India a US dollar 300 billion bioeconomy by 2030. That's the target. Nothing wrong in that. To promote biomanufacturing and biofoundry. Biofoundry is a place where biomanufacturing is conducted in a conventional manner with local workforce. Maybe BioRide scheme was approved by the Union Cabinet in September 2024. See, pause and try to answer this question. But the correct option is C. Because biofoundry is not a place where biomanufacturing is conducted in conventional manner with local workforce. Biomanufacturing would be conducted in biofoundry with automation, not in a conventional manner. And that's the correct option. So this is for today. I hope that you enjoyed these questions. But try to remember it also. Try to remember it for the preliminary. And we'll now come more frequently. I have all my works done. Now emphasize on preliminary examination. Thank you very much.